Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially 1 week away. Y'all see the draft cap. You know what time it is. Less than 7 days now, if we look at the clock. Less than 7 days away from the NFL draft, and everything we've talked about gets answered. Buckle up. It's Friday. Sit back, put something in the old cup. Let's get ready and let's go. The 25-1 big board, episode 11, the final episode, Dom and Spoon, in our draft series. Man, let's go.
BJ Nix, are you here?
Present.
Present. Spoonie, Timothy Spoonie.
Present, sir.
Margaret and Mary. Do we have a Margaret and Mary?
Yes. Cool. And the margaritas.
All right. Class here. We're ready. Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
This is the time to line up behind your team, to support your team. Have faith in that team.
You know, it's peaks and valleys. You know, it can't always be good. And as I always tell people, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. But when we do know about
house call, Trevon Diggs, pick six. It's coming. They see it. Knocked away. Oh, Gregory. Hurts in trouble. 3 Cowboys wrap him up, make it 4. Micah Parsons is unblockable.
Yeah, man, it's Friday. You know, by this time next week, right? We're doing day 2 of the draft, if you will. We're day 2, man. We are there. We are closing in, man. I'm super excited, man. It's been a fun ride. Each and every draft is always a fun ride, and what we do and how we cover things. Happy to unveil the board from 25-1. Dom's already told us he's got some spicy takes maybe tonight as well too, man. Just super excited, man. We're coming to the end of the line, right? The end of the line, the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, we're getting there. With that being said, I hope everybody in the chat is doing fantastic, man. Y'all know the drill. Hit the like, hit your comments, hit that sub. Free 99 to share, if you will. J Money in the building, White in the building, Rowe in the building, David Jenkins, Jason Garrett, man. See all you guys in the building, man, as always. Man, appreciate y'all. TC, Ranch Gang, as well in the building. Gregory, what's going on? Hopefully your week is done great. We're ending it on a high note. We are less than 7 days away from the draft. With that being said, my guy, the Deacon, Dom. Man, how's your Friday going, brother?
It's always a good day. Even in the lows, when they happen, it's still a good day. So, as the old folks used to say, enjoying being in the land of the living. And right here with you guys, y'all keep it live. So, you bring me up. I'm normally the reserved guy, conservative guy, but y'all bring me up. And so that space that we just got out of Really
Whew.
got a brother ready. So
Ooh, man, it was spicy over there, and a little ahead of schedule. Get to the top 10 quarterbacks, talk where Dak is, and with the Eagles people in there, the Washington people. Yeah. Okay. My guy Spoonie with the squad. I like the cap you picked tonight. You hit the squad cap board tonight, man. How we doing this Friday, brother?
Oh, great, man. Great. It's Friday night. It's almost
Hey.
draft night. So,
Hey.
it's a week away. We can't wait. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun.
Eddie, in a word, Dom, yes, he missed a banger.
yeah,
You missed some fireworks. How about that? Maybe not a banger. You missed some fireworks.
you missed shenanigans. That's what you missed.
Oh, well, ooh, shenanigans. Shenanigans, even better. Our cohort, not in tow yet, Mr. Professor O, he's getting caught up. The Hawks won their game. He'll be joining us soon. We'll be getting into it. With no further ado, though, guys, we have a couple different options as we're waiting for O to get here. I don't want to go to the big board yet for the 25 and up. I'll tell you what, though, what a great time here, real quick. Let's go 50 to 26. Can we throw that one up? Let's throw the 50 to 26 up here. I think is what we should do right now. For those that wasn't here last week or didn't get a chance to watch it yet. Okay. And quickly, I'm going to run through these. 50 to 41 there. Cody Mock coming in at 50, all the way up to Tank Dell at 41. Okay. The Hayden Hookers of the world. Joe Tibbin, I'm big on, Lucas Van Ness, maybe a little bit down the ball for other people than what we're at. And then 40 to 31 here, we got Downs in the building. Manuel Forbes, DeJuan Jones, which, by the way, Don White hates DeJuan Jones. This is what we know throughout this process, Dom. Hate DeJuan Jones.
Man, unfortunately, it's like a Freudian kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just left that brother out twice on the list of mine when knowing that I like him as right tackle 2 of this class.
10-4. And then 30 through 26, Deontay Banks, Kelly Ringo, Dr. Kincaid, Mayer, and Avila. So a quick synopsis of 50 to 26. We ran through that to give Professor O his adequate time to get here after the Hawks won. So I know you're on cloud 9. Forget the fact that we're wrapping up, our 11-part series of the draft, but the Hawks won going into this.
Yes. Yeah, it was crazy too because midway through the third quarter, the Celtics were shooting like 54% from 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hawks were shooting 48% from 3. Like neither team could miss from 3, so it was a wild game. I don't think we'll win this series, but I will take the playoff win, and we still have a chance. So until we're eliminated, you never know. So I had to finish that up, but here we go.
Yeah, that part, J-Tug. A little bit of peace. Again, I blame you. I don't know what Wallace be. I don't know. That conversation for a different time, but over here we're good. That's for those who are in the space earlier. What was going on is what happens. Hawks. Oh, there it is. Toxic. Don't get swept. I'll tell you what. Obviously, we have a couple of different topics we want to get to. Can we start with, because you brought it up in the back channels, the 5 names to be familiar with from Brian Broaddus and Bobby Belt. How about we start there? Y'all good with that, guys? Before we get to our the board.
Yeah, just give me 1 second to pull them up.
Sure. So their podcast and what they've done, the work over there. 5 names and kind of what you want to get to. Figured it'd be a good time to kind of discuss those guys as we go through the rest of the process here, right? The rest of the process here. So, I don't know if Spoonie or Dom heard those guys yet. Did y'all hear the 5 that they dropped? Okay, Dom, you did. Yeah. Spoon, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what? I did not. I want to go very much so into this blind. Whenever O dropped it, I said I haven't heard it yet. I'm not going to look for it. So I'm like, for me, I wanted to be a surprise, and for anybody else in the building that hasn't heard it yet, I'm like, okay, let me figure out what the 5 is when we're live tonight. That's where I wanted to be.
I got him. I got it pulled up.
Okay, yeah. All right, so do you want to list all 5 or go 1 and spin the block?
We'll just go 1 at a time. We'll go quickly, but
okay.
So number 1, not a surprise, but Bijan Robinson, according to Bobby Belt and Brian Broaddus on the draft show. There is a lot of talk internally that if Bijan Robinson's on the board, he will be the pick for the Cowboys.
Okay. Dom, Bijan, 26.
He won't be there.
Yeah, fair. Trade up.
But if he is there, he's somebody that you definitely should pick because we can continue to say he's arguably the best offensive talent when you exclude the quarterbacks. And so thinking about a potential top 6 talent overall, yeah, that's great value at 26.
Only 2 top 30 visits, right? Only 2 top 30 visits. Doesn't mean anything really, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Is there an offensive lineman, Dom, that you would put ahead of him from that layer, right? Take the quarterbacks out. Is he really truly the number one offensive guy if we put in some of these tackles, in your opinion?
Don't answer that. Because of the list. Don't answer that.
Okay, pause. I'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
We'll come back to it. All right, Spoonie, Bijan, number one on their list. I mean, you've been begging my ear about it.
All I can do is just pray. That's it. On draft, listen, everybody had a moment on draft night. I want one. I want to have a moment with Bijan. His name being selected as a Dallas Cowboy. I want to have one. So let's see what happens. I'm praying though.
You willing to trade up?
Hell yeah, I'll trade up. I don't listen. I'll go up 6 spots. I don't care. Listen,
6.
I want to win. I don't care about 6 years from now. What's going to happen with his contract? I'm talking about right now. The Cowboys had a great offseason. Why stop? Over value of other? Hell no. 5 spots. You want a 4th round pick? I'll give you that and a bag of Skittles.
Okay.
Hell
well,
yeah.
now you know.
I'll do that.
Okay. I mean, not Mel Copper, but Todd McShay said via the Dan Patrick show, right? 14-16, you can see the Cowboys going to 14-16 to take Bijan. Spoon, are you in?
That's a little too rich for my blood. I don't know who would do that.
Just so you know, too, that's 26 and 58. That gets you to 15. That's right in the middle of that range. So
I have to talk to my agent Dom and my treasurer Professor O right here before I even ask, because what's the trade value? How big is the trade value of that?
Oh, Dom?
19 up to 16, 14? 14 to 16?
The trade chart tells you you're going to have to give up 26 and 58. But I think a team may even hold you over the coals even more and try to maybe get you to give up next year's 5th, or maybe like a swap of the back end, like giving us their 6th round and then we jump back to their 7th or something.
Okay.
And then 90 and 26 are your 1st and 3rd. That gets you to about 20, 21, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I'd rather do it first. I'd rather do it 1st and 3rd. I really do than a 2nd. So I go 9 up to 19. See what happens. That's it.
Hold on, Spoon. So let's say you're giving up your 26th player, maybe on the board somewhere, and Siaki Ika. You would give up, let's say, a Anton Harrison and a Siaki Ika as 1-3 for Bijan.
Damn. I hate to win on Dom. No, I wouldn't do it. I can't do that. I can't. I want Siaki Ika bad, man.
Hey,
Dom did it for me.
Hold on. Man, those 2 names.
Yeah, I
can't. The Fat Joe, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
yeah. I'm paused right now.
The Anton and Ika to go get Bijan. I could think of some. That it's fun times. Bijan for sure makes a ton of sense. He's been a great conversational piece throughout this process with the Cowboys and what's going on. Yeah, I think ultimately the smoke of on the board at 26 is real. And obviously, we've seen the breakdown of Cowboys Nation on either side of about being there or not being there, or about taking a running back period that high or not at 26. I just think ultimately, yeah, sure. I mean, if he makes it to the board there, I don't think he should make it to the board there. But if he's on the board at 26, you're going to be very pressed to find anybody else on the board from a prospect level that's going to be day one impact that he is. So if he's at 26, sure. Trade up, I can give up 90. I need 58 though. is where I would land at. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not. Honestly, I'm probably not trading up at all. Like, I'm not
Right.
giving up 58 or 90. If he's there at 24, you're looking at maybe just jumping the Giants, who probably aren't going to take him, but Saquon's franchise, so you never know. Maybe then I'd consider it because that's not much to give up. Maybe that's like probably 129 or something. I probably could be talking to that, but I don't think I'd give up 58 or 90 personally. So
I think honestly, and as you talked about the two teams he met with, right, was the Eagles and Bucks, right? That's the two teams.
Yep.
Bucks picked 19th, right?
Right.
Then the alarm goes off for me in this process. Not talking about what I would do, just talking about the Cowboys here. If he is on the board at 20, I think all the red flags go up at that point. The Cowboys trading up. Not saying I would do it or anybody else in this panel would do it, or they would or wouldn't, whatever, speak for themselves. But I know for a fact, or I feel for a fact, if the Bucks don't take him at 19, I think the percentages start rising about them possibly trading up for him. Sitting on the board at 26, I think is a slam dunk. I'm not out of the mindset of trading up for him. I wouldn't, as O said, a little bit closer, 23 or something like that. But with the Cowboys trade up for him, and I don't think they'll give up the number 2, the 58, and some of the things we heard. I don't think that would happen. But boy, I wonder if they give up the 90 to move up. Wouldn't do it myself, but again, if he gets past the Bucks, I think then the alarm starts sounding at what they might do.
What they should do is say, hey, we got this 5th round pick. Our 5th round picks are valuable. They're worth Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. This 5th round pick you don't want to sleep on. This is a valuable trade commodity. So player 1 to remember of the 5 names that Brian Broaddus and Bobby Belt said on the draft show, they're hearing internally,
right?
Bijan Robinson. Player number 2, not a surprise because you've seen him on tons of mock drafts. Everybody from Dane Brugler to Mel Kiper saying it, but tight end Michael Mayer. Right. Notre Dame.
All right. Mayer fits the mold here, right, Dom?
Yeah, he definitely fits the mold. And one of the things that I've been trying to do to help people get a better understanding of him, or at least give a well-rounded defense, or if you're just, not wanting him, to at least be balanced in whatever your assessment is. What I do like about him is, though he may not be able to separate in the initial burst out of his stance, it's more about when he's at the top of the route, having the little nuances, having the savvy to be able to create the space whenever he's now breaking. I think he's going to be an option route king because he's good, like I said, at the top of those routes. And whenever I watched him play ever since he was a freshman, what he did well was catch balls outside of what you would think is his catch radius. He's often going low, going high, getting balls behind him, or just flat out jumping for it. So that's why I'm thinking, like, where are people getting this like completely non-athletic guy as if he's stiff? He's actually pretty savvy with his movements, and also his hips are nice. So I've seen him take balls and actually go across the middle, stiff arm guys, create some big yards down the field. And so I think some of the people that are putting out the negatives about him really aren't being balanced.
10-4. Number 3 on the board.
3rd player to remember, and I'm purposely changing the order because of the 2 guys I want to talk about the most. Will McDonald, edge, not a surprise. Dan Quinn was there at the Iowa State Pro Day, personally working him out.
Right.
We saw the same thing last year with Sam Williams. Now, that doesn't mean that we will draft him absolutely, but probably a good indication that DQ is interested. He fits not an immediate need, but a soon-to-be immediate need, and allows you some flexibility with Micah Parsons, and maybe you can move him back, let him play a little bit more linebacker, or add to that edge rotation that maybe Dorrance Armstrong is a draft day trade at that point. Maybe you flip him for a 3rd or 4th or whatever you can get. If not, he's gone the following season, and Tank's not going to be, here too much longer either. So it makes sense. But yeah, Will McDonald is the 3rd name that they mentioned.
10-4 Smoney. Will McDonald here coming into the forefront. As O said, Dan Quinn, Pro Day, worked with him the whole 9. Board falls a particular way. Which thing? Will McDonald here at 26.
Hey, listen. Anytime when you got Dan Quinn giving that much of attention to a play, and we see the plays that he has brought in since we drafted since last year. We seen Sam Williams, what he has done, going into the second half of the season. So, he visited Will McDonald. He's very high on him. He's definitely on the Cowboys list at number 26, and that's another weapon to add to the defense, especially with guys coming off of contracts possibly next season, like maybe D-Law and others in that depth. Is also with the rumors of if possibly trading Armstrong for the defensive end position. You want to keep adding that depth, so I'm with it.
All right. I think I know the last two here. Oh, and you said you want to talk about them extensively. Maybe
I don't necessarily want to talk about them extensively, but two of the people on this show are extremely high on them, so I want to make sure that they get a chance to talk about them.
Wait.
Okay.
This is one of my shockers here before we move on from Will McDonald.
Sure, go ahead.
I think this bust potential. He's a guy.
The low floor, very low floor.
I think his floor is low.
Okay.
But I think he's got a high ceiling, because to me, I don't see the sum of the parts just yet. I haven't seen it come together. Yeah, there's one thing to talk about, how the Big 12 defenses often put guys out of position because they're running these three-man fronts. And so it was criminal to see a guy who's 200 and really probably 230 at his playing weight with them to be playing five technique so much, or just flat out drop him off in a coverage. You wanted to see him moving forward and using the length that he has and the explosive movements that he's had that he has. But when I look at him, I'm like, all right, yeah, he's got some of the burst. He's got kind of that ideal length, but I'm still looking for a guy that can, shed blocks, use some power, show me some moves. And if he didn't beat you with his initial move, it was kind of easy to really take him on. And I know he's had this late push where everybody's saying he's going to be worth that 26 pick. Dan Quinn, went all the way to Ames to be able to check him out and coach him up. But I just don't see it. To me, this would be a reach if reach was ever used for a prospect in this class. He's one of those guys I wish we could trade back and maybe in the 40 range. And I hate to even say it, Steve Avila too. 26 might be one of those slight reaches.
Big reach.
So that's kind of my surprise. One of my surprises tonight, Will McDonald. I'm saying we overhyping the brother.
Would you be, and wrote with the question to you, Dom, McDonald or Keon White?
I would put McDonald over him. He's higher on my board, but I do like Keon White. I think he's got a better body. He seems to be more NFL ready. But when you're talking maybe 2 to 3 years down the road, McDonald might turn into something. But it's not that Keon White doesn't or lacks athleticism, because the man can move to be that big, and he's pretty lengthy. So I think Rohit mentioned it earlier in the space that he fits the kind of NFC East mold of a defensive end, fitting like a DeMarcus Lawrence type, but he's even bigger. He's thicker. And so that's something that you could definitely use all up and down that defensive line. So he would do well at defensive end for us because he's played some D tackle in college.
10-4. Name number 4.
Name number 4, a guy that Dom put on a lot of people's radar. Offensive tackle / maybe guard from Tennessee, Darnell Wright.
Boy,
Dom, go ahead.
It feels like a pipe dream to give him there at 26 now, though, doesn't it, Dom?
Yeah, it does.
So, Dom, real quick, if the rumors that Hendon Hooker not only is going in round 1, because we've heard rumors of maybe Minnesota at pick 23 or 24, wherever they are. We heard maybe Tampa Bay at 19. Now there's rumors of maybe the Commanders at 16. If he goes, doesn't necessarily mean Wright will be there, but every time one of those guys flies up the board that we're not expecting, somebody drops. So it's possible, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But talk about him, Dom.
Hopefully Will McDonald goes ahead. Maybe Keon White goes ahead. Lucas Van Ness, Murphy, get all those guys going.
Push them. Trenton Simpson, push them.
And, that's the talk lately is, as we're doing all these mock drafts and Looking at our big boards and looking at consensus boards, it's as if the NFL guys are just laughing at all of us fans and content creators because this seems like such a tumultuous draft class as far as trying to rank them. But yeah, I've been on the Darnell Wright train for weeks, months, almost
since
a year,
December.
it seems.
Since December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've learned that if I'm early in the process, meaning beginning of the college season, if I got a guy that I'm thinking, man, we might be able to get him in the second round, yeah, he's a first rounder. So that's what I've been getting out of Darnell Wright. He's just a massive guy who's 6'6", 333 pounds, but to be able to move the way he does and to set up defenders the way that he does. And like I continue to say, in games, even in the middle of a snap, he's just testing out technique. That's a guy who's supremely confident in his ability. He knows he's got the power. He knows he's got the footwork, the speed to be able to retrace and catch guys if he needs it. So to toy around and do things within the game against Will Anderson, who's arguably the number one talent in this draft, and to hold him out, to do things like he did against BJ Ojolari, who's also a first round caliber, early second round defensive end, and to shut these guys out like he did, it was obvious to me, like, this guy is offensive lineman number one for this class. Plus, he has the versatility.
Yeah, I think the biggest key when we talk about Darnell Wright is the Cowboys, and ultimately the piece of the puzzle. I don't want to unlock the door. The piece of the puzzle here for the jigsaw is how they view the offensive line. What are they trying to get to? I think that's why we talk a lot about whether it's guard, tackle, just in general, and of course with the propensity that they draft offensive linemen early, right in the first round. I mean, we go out, Tyron, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyler, right? And we look at these guys in the first round. So that ratchets up the talk with that particular position group. But boy, the unlocking side is what are they going to do with this offensive line? Is it going to be Tyler at guard and the two tackles are going to be Tyron and still whatever? But boy, if Darnell Wright makes it to 26, I don't know if there's going to be a better prospect on the board at that point. And that's the fun part about this exercise, Spoonie.
There won't be.
Oh,
man, if Bijan was there with Darnell Wright, I'm going Darnell Wright.
Oh,
man, that's deep.
Spoonie?
That's deep right there, man. That's just deep. I mean, listen, that's deep. That's listen. What I love about
with
this,
your chest segment, I think Dom just did.
Yeah,
Dom just was like,
we couldn't get to that segment, but here's Dom just out here slicing and dicing. The space got him a little amped up. There's too much going on in the space. That's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Don was always passionate about Darnell Wright since we even started this draft conversation. And, I always say it's the same way BJ did with CD Lamb, the same way Professor O did this year about JSN. So when you hear those things, those conversations, especially where you guys really look into deep into these guys' backgrounds, the way they play, you look at the tape and everything. How can anybody be against a great place, as you guys mentioned, to become a Cowboy? So I respect the fact that Dom is basically saying he'll take Darnell Wright over Bijan because he loves the way he sees it, and especially when we're talking about a guy of an offensive line who play in the SEC, where you're playing against one of the best in your conference, and you becoming a Cowboy, especially when you need help at guard. We don't know the tackle situation moving forward with Steele. You got to respect the pick, and I like it. So that if that was to happen, Dom, I won't be mad. I won't be mad. But damn it, I love Bijan. I want Bijan. But damn.
The number 5. Oh, go ahead, Dom. Before we get to number 5, you muted yourself.
And here's one of the things I want to say. I often keep hearing people say, "Well, why would the Cowboys continue to use this top the top resources on offensive line, do we always have to use a first rounder to be able to get a solid offensive line? And it's like, well, no. But who had the best offensive line last year?
The Eagles.
Not the Chiefs.
The Eagles. Okay. So let's talk about what the Eagles have done to build their offensive line as well as the depth on that line. In 2013, fourth overall, they picked Lane Johnson.
Yep.
MSG.
Then in 2019, they used first round pick 22 to get Andre Dillard. Didn't work out. They still used the first round pick. Then they went on and got Landon Dickerson, who was a center / guard flexibility. That was the 37th overall pick, even though they already had a pretty solid offensive line. They thought that he would be the guy to take over for their center, Kelsey. Kelsey, yeah, later round pick, but they still brought in a guy to try to take his job, couldn't take his job. Now that guy slides over to be able to start. Then they get Cam Jurgens last year at pick 51, still with the same thought. He didn't do anything yet, but now they're thinking he's going to be the left guard. So you're talking about a team, and I didn't even talk about the third and the fourth round picks they've also thrown at the position since they got Lane Johnson to bring his talent to that team. So Philly is constantly doing exactly what Dallas has really done over the years as far as bolstering the offensive line. They're not too far off of what we've done. But for whatever reason, we continue to just harp on, are we the only team that's using, premium picks to try to do something to fix that offensive line? The fact that you got a team that's used 4 top 50 basically picks to be able to help out. I mean, what are we talking about? Now, they have landed some guys late, like their starting left tackle, Mailata. It's just like us getting a steal as an undrafted free agent. It worked. So it would not bother me one bit if Dallas used their first round pick this year, whether it's maybe moving back a little bit, still in the first round, to be able to secure a talent like a Darnell Wright.
Gotcha.
So real quick, without going off on a tangent on that, my pushback would be, and to be fair to you, their right guard who signed elsewhere this year, Malo or however you say his name, he was a third round pick. I don't mind spending day 1 or day 2 picks. Like, I don't mind if you're spreading them out. I just don't like when they're all in the same thing. The Dolphins since the last 13 drafts, the Dolphins are the only team that spent more first round picks than us. They've spent 5, we spent 4. So that, yes, I agree that they have also spent premium picks, but there's a big difference when you're saying their average pick difference is 20 picks apart from or more from what we're investing. We're investing substantially more when you're always doing the first round. If you're spending a second, third, fourth throughout, multiple drafts, that's fine. I just don't like doing it frequently over and over and over at the same position, because you still, every time you do that, you're missing out on a potential impact player in a skilled category at defensive end, any of the money 5 positions. So that's where my pushback is. If they did it twice in that span and spent a second and third round pick and still spent 4 or 5 premium picks, I'm cool with it. It's just that they're always round 1. That's my sticking point. So if they were 2 and 3s, then it's different.
But in the same time span that we've used our picks, when you go back to getting Tyron Smith, we've only used 1 more first round pick than they have.
That's not true.
But yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You got to go back all the way to 2011 whenever they used their first round pick. I mean, it all really fleshes out, and they've used more second rounders than us. When you total up the points of what they've expended on their offensive line since Tyron Smith was drafted, I bet you Philly might end up edging us in the amount of points that they've spent on their offensive line.
But they're not all first round picks. And what I'm saying is we've spent
3 to 4 in that same time span that we've had Tyron.
They spent 2. We spent 4. They took 2. They took Lane Johnson and Andre Dillard.
3. They've taken 3.
Who's the other person?
You got to go all the way back to 2011 for them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm saying since Tyron Smith, that's the time frame we're looking at.
Right. When was Tyron Smith drafted?
Was that 2011? Is that right? 2011, 2012?
Yeah. So in that same year, they got Danny Watkins at 23 in that draft.
Oh, was he the Well, he was
Fireman.
like
He
the
was a guard.
26-year-old
Yeah,
guard.
fireman.
Yeah, is that right? Okay.
He was they got when we got Tyron,
2010,
they
yeah,
picked
2010.
they picked the guard in that same draft.
Okay. So
Then we
3 to
went
4.
on and took Zach Martin, Frederick. They went and
Tyler.
got Dillard and Lane Johnson.
And then we
And
took
then we
Tyler.
took-
Then we got Tyler. But they ended up getting who's not a first, Landon Dickerson, who's a top second rounder at 37, Cam Jurgens, who's a 51. Our next guy, we didn't get any
Connor
second
Williams.
rounders.
Yes, we did. Connor Williams, right? Second
Well,
rounder.
Yeah.
True.
Connor
Connor,
Yeah.
and then
And
the
then
next
the
would be
Connor
the other
McGovern was
Connor.
what, third round, right?
Third.
Chaz Green.
Third, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Chaz Green. What a
it
name.
all kind of
Oh, Chaz Green. What round was
He
Chaz
was
Green?
a third round pick.
He's
Yeah.
a third too. Wasn't he? Oh,
Yeah,
Chaz.
that was disgusting.
so we tried with a number of thirds. They've tried with a number of seconds.
What
It's
about
almost
Shane Andrews?
Fleshing out.
Where did Shane Andrews go?
I don't know what
Yeah.
pick he was.
Sean
Yeah, I think he was
Andrews.
before that.
Yeah, I,
Look
think,
real quick.
I feel like he was too. But neither here nor there.
The main thing is just hit. Because
Sure.
both of the teams have been able to manage to get guys later that you wouldn't have expected to turn out the way that they did. Nobody would have thought Jordan Mailata would have turned out like he did. Same thing with Terrence Steele.
I will say though,
Sean
too,
was round 1, but in 2004, so he was quite
there
a
you
bit
go,
before
way
that.
earlier. But the other thing too for the Cowboys and things that they won within that stretch, and maybe a little bit of the exasperation side of this draft thing when it comes to the Cowboys. For instance, Leo Collins would have been a top 10 offensive lineman pick. He would have went number 9 to the Giants.
Probably,
Things
yeah.
happened. The Cowboys
Right.
got him in here.
Unfortunate for him.
Ronald Leary would have been a guy. He's probably at worst second round pick. The near whatever the Cowboys got it in here. They haven't found a way to keep continuity, when it comes to that, from the draft and things are happening offensive line or whatever the case may be. But I'm with you, Dom. No matter where the hell you take them, hit.
You got to hit.
But the Cowboys have shown a propensity to do the first round in early rounds, right? Like some other teams have too, for sure. No offense or buts about it. Fifth name.
So
on this-
recapping real quick, we have Bijan Robinson,
Oh,
Michael Mayer.
and these names are coming from where again?
Yeah, Bobby Belt and Brian Broaddus saying these are the 5 names that they're hearing in the building are the 5 guys that the Cowboys are very in on. So we have Bijan Robinson, Michael Mayer, Darnell Wright, Will McDonald, and
Need
Drew
some sounds for
Sanders.
this.
That's your old boy.
Did you say Drew?
I said Drew Sanders. Yeah.
Drew
So
down?
that name,
Oh, Drew down?
that name is interesting. To be fair, Drew Sanders is not a name that a lot of people have not been high on. A lot of us like Drew Sanders, but he also is a name that a lot of us have not talked about at 26, or if we did, it was a while ago. Like the fact that he is now reemerging as, no, don't be surprised if he goes in round 1. Interesting.
We
So
got to
Nix,
let
why don't you
Nick.
go ahead and talk
That's
about
for
him
Nick.
next.
That's
Yeah,
for
I
Nick.
mean, if you want to go to my timeline on Twitter and go back to November 15th, not November, February 15th, and wrapping up my Drew Sanders film study, and I
Which is
said,
number 1.
linebacker 1 has arrived for the 23 draft back in February 2015. And just what do you want from him? Again, ultimately 6'4", 6'5". You would look at him and say, "Oh, it's LVE." So, no, not the same game. Not the same game by any stretch of the imagination. Gets off of blocks. LV needs to be kept very clean. Although you want to keep your linebackers clean, I'm not saying that, but gets off blocks very good. Fills holes. He'll give you pass rush off the edge. He's a what you would call a chess piece, if you will, that can move around and do a lot of different things. And thinking about that with Dan Quinn and how he likes to move and operate, this is a guy that gives him a lot of different avenues of what he can do. Now, going watching Jack Campbell and Trent Simpson, there are certain things in their lanes of what they do, for sure, right? I don't think Simpson really fits for the Cowboys and what they need. I think Jack Campbell could fit in that lane, not at 26. Drew Sanders, depending on what the board held and fell, I could definitely see him at 26. I was very big on him at 26 for a while, and I said, well, too many things are happening or whatever. And then late, I've been back on him like, well, if the guys ain't there, hey, I can see it. And I got an opportunity to talk to a birdie. They're big on him inside the Star in Frisco. They're very big on Drew Sanders. So again, it's about what he brings to the table at linebacker and what Dan Quinn can use him in a multitude of different ways. And when you think about LV and Clark being in the building, being your cohorts, right? But now I get that rotation here with Sanders. However, if I'm putting Sanders in the middle, he might rush the middle, because we talk about Michael Parsons. Even when he does play linebacker sparingly, he's going through the A gap all of a sudden. Now you don't know. Look, if Sanders is doing that, it is what it is. You don't know if he's going to do that. It gives a little bit more of a mirage on what you're doing with Drew Sanders. And I just think, I think about Dan Quinn and how he's molded this defense since Mike has been here, and you insert a Drew Sanders in that realm, and he can be that ultimate death piece guy that you need. I can give you pass rush as well from any slot that you want to put him. I mean, you can put him on the edge and he'll get home. The tape is out there. You can go look it up. It's just a phenomenal piece that in a draft where we're pushing different guys or dropping different guys or whatever the case, and we've talked about linebacker here extensively, y'all. And and through our big board we're about to get to of where they're at. And we talk about 26 and what does that ultimately mean from a prospect standpoint. Absolutely, I can see Drew Sanders being the pick at 26 and be like, okay, this makes sense. Period.
So my question to you guys really quickly in the chat and the panel is, out of those 5 names, are you good with all 5? Obviously, it depends on what's on the board, but is there any name there that you're like, oh, I'd hate that? I'm not in love with one of those 5 picks, but I'm not going to be upset if day one ends and that's who we pick.
Okay. Who you up with? Who would you be like, oh no?
Michael Mayer, and it's not that he's a bad player. It's just because we've seen it in our mock draft exercises, and I think you see it with a deep tight end class that if you go tight end round 1, it could get squirrely at pick 58 and 90 and so on. It kind of almost forces your hand a little bit, not necessarily, but a little bit more than it would if you went a different position. So I wouldn't love that pick, but I also would be like, I do think he's going to be a good player. So I'm not out on him. See, I'm not breaking a remote either way if we draft any of those 5 guys.
Okay, Spoonie, are you breaking the remote on any of those 5 guys? I like the breaking the remote part is a good baseline here. Oh, yeah, one of these 5 guys. Are you good? Or are you breaking the remote on somebody if they're the pick?
I'm cool. I'll give you my ranking.
Okay,
my best to worst, of course, Bijan Robinson, number 1. Number 2, Darnell Wright. Number 3 is Drew Sanders. Number 4 will be Michael Mays. Number 5 will be Will McDonald.
Okay,
that's my ranking.
I mean, Dom.
I would have the same rank, just flip the last 2. As much as it sounded like I was negative on Will McDonald, I think he still represents a position where I covet that and really want to see that for the Cowboys moving from 24 and beyond. And if he can do anything year 1, that'd be nice. So you kind of stash him a little bit, letting him pick up a few snaps. It's almost going to be like the Sam Williams plan replicated all over again, where fans, you go, man, put him in, but he may not get the shine just yet. I wouldn't throw the remote, but I might cut everything on mute and just toss it on the bed and just sit back in silence if they were to get McDonald or Mayer.
Got you. McDonald's the only guy for me. It's a potential throw the remote moment in this stack of 5 guys because I think he's the least impact out of the gate for the Cowboys and trying to get to the ultimate goal, get to an NFC Championship game. So McDonald for me would be the on air live as we'll be live during the draft and be like, and look, and with that being said, I don't think it's a bad prospect by any stretch. I don't think that Will McDonald's a bad player. I don't think any of these 5 guys are terrible players or terrible prospects or anything like that. But when I'm talking about the Cowboys and how they built this team thus far and trending forward, I would. Will McDonald, I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Well, let's hope there's some return really soon. Out of the gate, because I think the Cowboys really need to hit a difference maker at 26. So McDonald would be the guy for me. Where the remote's in my hand, I'm not going to throw it, but I'm looking at the remote. The remote's looking at me. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it to you. And the remote's a little bit nervous, but I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And the remote's like, are you sure? And I'm like, let me just set you down before I do something bad. That's where I'd be at. And again, don't think he's a bad player. I don't. I just, boy, in that stack of 5, I think I'd rather go with the other 4 outside of Will McDonald. Put him on the low man's totem pole, if you will. So that's the 5 that they talked about, Belt and Broadus, and what they're hearing and whatnot, and what we talked about here as well too, right? Let's do our top 25 board. Then we'll go to the say with your chest and we'll get the final mock. How about that? Does that sound good to y'all?
Yeah. You want me to pull them up?
Yeah, let's pull up. Let's go 25 and up first. We're going back to the front. Let's go. Let's see. Boom. So here we go. I'll get the comment. Okay. Boom. There we go. 25 to 16, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Breesy, Anton Harrison, Jameer Gibbs, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. Ooh, wide receiver. Brian Branch, Darnell Wright, Kalijah Cansey, Nolan Smith. Spoony. 25 through 16, man. Talk to me, Goose.
You gonna pick a play or?
Yeah, wherever you want to go here. You see him?
Okay. I'm more scared about Brian per se. I'm kind of scared, but I'm not. I know there's been a lot of in the beginning of the draft conversation. There's been talks about him being in Clemson, how he been a downplay between injuries and off the field situations that kind of not play to the high level of play that they expected him in Clemson. He's one of the guys, as you mentioned earlier in the space too, BJ, that and listen to like Brian brought us to the world and everybody else. It's like I'm scared if the Cowboys draft Brian per se, then I'm not. And I do trust the front office. I do trust Will McClay, but he's one of those guys that I feel that if drafted, we're not going to be happy about it by the instance. But I'll just say to the Cowboy Nation to just be patient. Let's see, what they uncover from him, what they see, the positive stuff that they feel that they can provide for this team. They do need a big defensive tackle, which he provides that. But he's just one of those guys that if we're talking about a Tyler Smith situation, he fits that. But again, we wasn't all through about Tyler Smith last year, and we end up loving Tyler Smith by the end of the year. So that's my talk on Brian Bezay from Clemson.
All right, Dom, 25 through 16 here.
We're cowards.
Oh,
look at the receiver stat.
Yeah,
that just jumps out. Jordan Addison, though, being the one that edged out, looks like our 2 through 4, because there's one guy that I haven't seen yet. So I'm pretty sure I know who that is. For me, for us to put it like that, it kind of makes sense because we've been having a hard time splitting hairs between these guys. We've continued to say there are 4 receivers we value at 26. And for us to not know what one another would put as our top 50 and to have these 3 stacked in like they're like sandwiches, it kind of makes perfect sense.
10-4. Oh.
Yeah, so number 23, Jameer Gibbs. I think it's interesting because you're hearing a late surge, and obviously this media surge does not mean that NFL teams weren't already on that. A lot of times media and fans catch up to what the NFL executives are already thinking. But there's word out there now that you shouldn't be shocked if Jameer Gibbs and Bijan go in round 1. So I think it's interesting that we all as a community who say positional value, you already know Bijan's in our top 25. I mean, you can just assume that. And now we have Jameer Gibbs. So I think it's interesting that we have 2 running backs in the top 25 in a draft that's pretty deep at a lot of running back positions. But I think Gibbs is worth it. He's a guy that you're going to utilize in a plethora of ways, and he's a weapon. So I think he's the name that stands out for me. there's quite a few names that are interesting here, but yeah, that's the name. Like having a second running back in the top 25 in our consensus group, I found it interesting.
Right, and to be completely clear for everybody, transparent. And this is our board from last week, so we're a week as you were talking about the Gibbs talk and everything else. This was our board not this Wednesday. This was our board Tuesday or Wednesday when we turned in all of our boards and did the consensus for this. So, I definitely like that being on the board. Again, out of the gate, it is what Dom talked about. The 3-stack there is very intriguing. My guy Kalijah Cansey, like Mr. Kalijah. And then, of course, Darnell coming in at 18, as much as we talked about Darnell Wright and what's going on and see him at 18. And now we're talking about, is that a trade position that the Cowboys want to get a little juicy if they want to? But Nolan Smith kind of following what we thought. I like where we're starting tonight. I like 25 through 16. Let's turn up and let's get to the next stack here.
All right, next group is going to be 15 through 6.
All right. So Miles Murphy coming in, edge. Broderick Jones. JSN, our consensus number 1 wide receiver. Anthony Richardson. Tyree Wilson. Paris Johnson. Devon Witherspoon. Peter Skoronski. And Christian Gonzalez at 6. Spoonie. Here's 15 through 6.
Mm-hmm.
What sticks out to you? What do you like here? What do you don't like here? Even
what I don't. This is
whatever you want to go. You see, all right. Through 6.
Well, I'll say this because I know there's a certain receiver. I'm gonna say that for Professor O. So I'm gonna go with Joey Porter.
Okay.
NFL bloodlines from Joey Porter, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, the rumblings are not in the beginning. He was a top 15 player. Now there's word on the street that he may slip and fall. Maybe in the Cowboys range, maybe close enough if they feel that if he's the guy on their draft board that they really like, they could trade up and get him. Again, he's a guy that I like, big physical guy. We don't know if Gilmore is here past this year. We also going to deal with Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs and his contract extension. So it is always good to just have that that player just in case there's something wrong with the contract situation with Diggs, and just in case past Gilmore they're gonna need somebody, and he definitely fits the bill for big corners that Dan Quinn loves. So that's my guy, Joey Porter Jr.
And as we're getting into 15 to 6 here, right? The big 3 at cornerback, right? Witherspoon, Gonzalez, Porter Jr. fall within here, but also Dom, the offensive line, right? And here comes Peter Skoronski coming in at number 7. You see 15 through 6. What sticks out here with the 15 through 6 ranking for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you went on and highlighted that for me. Peter Skoronski being number 7 on our overall board. That's why I think he is one of those players where if I'm packaging pick 26 and 90 to be able to go up to 20, if he were to have a precipitous fall, if you base it on our board, we're saying he's the number 7 overall talent. So if he were to drop to 20 because teams aren't coveting him as a tackle, instead they're viewing him as a guard, so that might drop the value some. If he made it to 20, I would be more than willing to package 26 and 90 to go up and get him, because position flex, he can help you in a pinch, an emergency situation. But I think he is one of those guys, you put him at guard and you have a guard for the next 2 contracts.
Got you. One of the guys for me looking here at 6 through 15, Anthony Richardson coming in at 11 for us overall. And I think we've been very, very, very on task when it comes to him and talking about what he has in his range, what he can be going into this draft. And we kind of talked about this in the earlier chats. Even this is like leading into the combine, right? And we kind of had those conversations about Richardson. Then the combine came and went. We're like, okay, this makes sense of what we were saying. Interesting to me here through the 6-15 where we put Anthony Richardson over here at 11. 6 through 15, man. What do you want to dive into here?
Yeah, so couple quick hitters for me. Spoonie kind of laid it out there, so I'll just say it. JSN's been my number one wide receiver for a long time. I think he's most people's number one wide receiver. Obviously, the hamstring issue causing him to miss most of last year is a concern, but I just think when you watch the film, he's the guy that stands out. Like there's a lot of decent receivers in this class, but he's the one that you're like, nah, I could see him being, a top 10 or 15 receiver in the NFL. He's just so smooth with his routes, and he's one of those guys. It's funny because the guy that comes in my mind is Michael Irvin. It was a NFL Network special where they were talking about the top 10 running backs ever, and Michael Irvin's talking about Emmitt Smith. And when he's talking about Emmitt Smith, he's saying, we draft Emmitt Smith. He's not the fastest guy, but he's running away from everyone. He's not the biggest guy, but nobody can bring him down. He doesn't look like he has great moves, but nobody can tackle him. Like he's just one of those guys where you're like, he doesn't wow you when you watch him, but he's just always making plays and he's super productive. He's going to be a quarterback's best friend. So I very much look at him as a guy that could be and even though people say like he's a slot only, I don't know why that's really considered a bad thing, which that's another conversation for another day. But there's a lot of things that people say in the draft community. Well, he's only a slot. Slots play all the damn time. Slots are playing like 70 or 90% of your offensive snaps. So I don't know why that even really matters, but nonetheless, I think he's very much so worthy of that pick, and I think we're really close because the rumored spot for him is pick 12, Houston Texans, and we have him at 13. So I think we're right on with that. The second thing I want to mention is I'm looking at these offensive linemen, and I looked at last group we had. We had Darnell Wright, and we had Anton Harrison, and then this group we also have Peter Skoronski, who could be a guard, could be a tackle. I think most teams are looking at him as a guard, but I'm sure there will be some that consider him as a tackle. And Broderick Jones in this list, and Paris Johnson Jr. I'm convinced at 26, one of those 5 offensive linemen is going to be there. I just am. And Rohit, no, I didn't comp him to Michael Irvin. I'm comping him to what Michael Irvin said about Emmitt Smith, where when you watch him, you're like, it doesn't make sense that you're this good because you're not the fastest, but nobody can catch you. You're not the biggest, but you break all these tackles. Like that's kind of the mode I'm going with. So I guess I'm comping him to Emmitt Smith indirectly, not really intentionally. But I have a feeling now with 5 offensive linemen in front of us, knowing we're going to have at least 4, if not 5 quarterbacks go before us, and we're going to have multiple edge rushers, I think one of these offensive linemen, maybe Darnell Wright, maybe Broderick Jones, somebody will fall to us at 26. So that's my thoughts.
10-4. All right, take this one down.
Man.
Take this one down real quick. Take down the 15 through 6. 11 episodes in. All the work, everything else that we've been going through. What does the buffer say? It's time! Here is the official 5 through 1 for Pick 6 Sports for the 2023 draft. Oh, give us 5 through 1. Throw it up here on the board. There it is. All right. We got Bijan Robinson coming in at 5. Will Anderson coming in at 4. CJ Stroud coming in at 3. Jalen Carter coming in at 2. And Bryce Young coming in at 1. So, 2 Bamas, University of Georgia, the Ohio State, and the University of Texas is in the building. Is the top 5 in the 23 draft for the Dallas, for Pick 6 Sports on the Dallas Cowboys. 2 quarterbacks here, 2 defensive guys, and a running back is on the board. Dom, here we are. We have arrived, good sir.
We did the right thing by not overanalyzing Bijan, kind of overlooking the positional value and just talking and thinking about the talent. He does everything you would want a running back to do. Yes, he could be a little bit better in pass protection. But when you watch him as a receiver, splitting him out, Dallas did that with Zeke. Bijan is a better pass catcher than Zeke. He can run routes. He can catch. I mean, getting balls that, most receivers would struggle with getting. I've seen him do the Willie Mays catch a couple of times. But then you hand that rock off to him and let him do some work in between the tackles, the contact balance, the initial quick burst within the first 10 yards, being able to break tackles. I mean, he's everything you really want in a running back. So it turned out he was our number one overall talent for the offense when you exclude quarterbacks.
Spoonie, anybody in this list you want to talk about? Anybody you want to highlight? Anybody that you're obviously we know you're a Bijan fan. You've been consistent about that since day one. As Dom mentioned, the positional value like that, it's very difficult in the draft process, and I think all of us are guilty of it, of having these draft biases, and obviously positional value is probably one of the single biggest ones that we come to rub against as we're coming up with these lists. I agree with Dom. I think we actually nailed where he's at. I think somewhere in that 5 to 7 range, wherever you want to put him, is where he belongs in this class. So Dom, Bijan Robinson. Not Dom, sorry. Spoonie, Bijan Robinson, number 5. Talk about him.
Professor Dom, he's not human. He's what Dallas needs. He's exactly what Dallas. Look, Texas on the jersey, you're home. Number 5, we got 5 rings. It's just everything about Bijan to the Cowboy just makes sense. It is. There's no story without an ending. He's part of the ending. He's it. This is the guy that if Jerry wants to get aggressive, listen, I don't care about the politics about running backs. I don't care about 5 years from. It's about today. It's about, are we going to think about 5 years from now if we go to the Super Bowl? No, we're not going to think about it. We're going to say, yeah, I did the right thing. You got to get, if Bijan is anywhere near your range, you got to get him. You got to try. You got to make it. You have to make an attempt to go get this man. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. You put him in a Dallas uniform, it's going to be problems for 31 other teams. We will go. I'm keeping it. This thing about running backs, listen, I understand from how we talk about Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Zeke. I understand all of that. But we haven't talked about utilization. We haven't talked about how these running backs were used by their teams. We haven't talked about how Garrett ran Zeke to the ground. We haven't talked about Zeke is not the same no more because how much they use. We got Mike McCarthy here. He would know how to utilize all his running backs and be balanced and keep them. This man is a weapon. It's a weapon. In my opinion, he should be number 1 on this list.
Wow.
The best play in the draft. I'm keeping the buck. The reason why he's not, because it's the position, the running back, how they look at it. When it comes to every play in this top 5, it's up. You know what? I'll take it like this. Aside from Jalen Carter, the other 4, it's been conversations. One guy is too small. One guy had too many weapons. One guy, okay, is Ohio State quarterbacks. It's always the same thing every year when it comes to the NFL. They don't translate right. There hasn't been not one bad thing about Bijan Robinson other than he's a running back value. That is it. That's why I say he should be number 1 on this list. And the Cowboys should get aggressive and get this man.
Well, Spoon, to your point real quick, and I want to make sure I leave plenty for Nick to talk about too. It is kind of comical that through this draft process, and I probably have said it too, so I'll be upfront about that. We've had so much conversation on, do you take a running back at 26? Running back positional value at 26. But here we are now, 1 week out from the draft, less than a week out from the draft now, and we're worried, concerned that Philadelphia will take him at 10. But we won't definitively take him at 26 as a fan base. Like, how crazy is that?
I don't understand.
There's rumors that the Falcons may take him at 8, and we're talking at 26. This is where you're getting guys that are second-round grades on your draft board, and we're like, no, we could just wait. He is one of the best players in this draft, period, positional value or not. So, Nick.
Yeah, no, I just, and I've said it before, 26 ain't 4. And, we've had times within the spaces to kind of talk about this a little bit of, I understand there's a little bit of this PTSD with, what happened with Zeke at 4 and how that played out. And now here we are the same year that you release Zeke and things are happening. The draft doesn't care about your feelings though, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't. You should be honest about what's in front of you. And I know 2 times that we get through this process, especially towards the end, I think it happens throughout the process, the draft process, but towards the end, we get into this. Well, what happened this draft or that draft? And what's coming out next draft? And what about the 2, 3, 4 drafts ago? Man, every draft is very much so a anomaly into itself because how this draft played out, as far as the rankings and what was here versus the prospects of last year's draft or the year before that. Like you have to look at it how it comes. And the one question I asked ultimately within the spaces was, if I told you at 26 the Cowboys would get the number 1 offensive weapon, I'm taking the positions off the board. You don't know the position. But I said you're getting the number 1 offensive weapon at 26 outside the quarterback. Would you take that pick? And ultimately, unanimously, it was basically yes. So that turns into Bijan as our top 50 board lands. I understand the different takes and the pushbacks or whatever the case may be. And I'm not out here saying that you should trade up. I don't think it gets past 19 with the Bucs anyways. I'm not saying the Cowboys should go trade up even. But if he's sitting there on the board at 26, y'all want Will McDonald over Bijan? Man, I'm good. Hey, y'all want, I'm gonna hit over this. Y'all want Darnell Washington or Bijan?
Bijan.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of what you got to look at when you're picking. So, I find it interesting. The other side too is Bryce Young around the league, and we have him as number 1 as well. And obviously, right now we're hearing about Carolina's going to take him and move away, Houston's going to move away from C.J. Stroud, but that's what Carolina's going to take Bryce Young. The size, I thought the size would be more of a deal, especially what we saw happening with Tua. It has not really changed much in that realm. So here we are. I guess probably the biggest thing to me is going to be interesting. I think there's a chance that Will Anderson goes over Carter. I think Houston might really not take a quarterback or trade out and sit there at number 2 and take Will Anderson instead of Jalen Carter. So I like the top 5 list from us. I like where we came and where we landed. We have 2 quarterbacks, again, 2 defensive guys. This draft has kind of perpetuated that. And then also Bijan, what'd you say, Spoon? He's a weapon.
The weapon.
And maybe the best offensive weapon, as we've talked about extensively throughout the draft series process here in episode 11 of, he's more than just a running back, but all the other things happen. So no, absolutely love where we landed at the top 5-0.
Yeah, and kind of where I'll land my plane on this group before we move on to the final big board so you can see everybody all together is, I do agree. I think Will Anderson is probably a lock to go before Jalen Carter, whether that's pick 2, 3, 4. I think Jalen Carter's range probably starts at pick 5 and beyond. I think Seattle at 5 makes a ton of sense. I don't think he'll get out of the top 10, but Will Anderson going number 2 to Houston or going number 3 to Arizona if they don't trade back makes total sense. He's worthy of it. He's a really good player. So I personally look at this list and I think it's interesting when we rewind it. I think Bryce Young is the best prospect as a consensus. However, I had Jalen Carter above him on mine as number 1. But anyways, go Dogs. But I don't think any of us, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, I don't think any of us would say out of this class, we think he will be the best player in the NFL.
Right.
In 5 years. But being the best prospect right now and the quarterback and everything going into it, I think that's kind of where it goes. If I had to bet on anybody else in this list over him, I probably would pick a couple players that I think have a better shot, but maybe that's just the size bias that I still have.
I like it. I like the sizes. Yeah, and of course, I mean, here's the top 50 board from us over at Pick 6, 1 through 50, from Cody Mock to Bryce Young, from the rooter to the tutor. Fry you up some pork belly and eat it and take a look at it. This is where we landed. I think keynote 26, the consensus at 26, Dom.
Yeah.
Says Steve Avila for the Cowboys, and we just go through the actual rankings here, Dom.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys where, you might have to overdraft, but it still would fit a position of need where you can solidify that left guard spot and move on from there, and then allow a guy like Tyler Smith to play his more natural spot, which is tackle.
Big 10-4. I think it's funny too because there's some of Darnell Washington at 26 and different things. We talked about this in the space as well, but we got him at 42 here. Tank Dell showing some love as well. Cam Smith at 32. Hey, maybe a guy at 26 might end up happening, right? But yeah, man, just enjoy. Very proud of the work that everybody's done. Hey, man, in our top 50, we do have 3, Iowa Hawkeyes. BTW. We got 3 Iowa Hawkeyes in the top 50. Obviously, some Clemson guys in this building as well too. Any surprises, real quick, and we'll pivot because we got to get through another segment, and then we have the mock draft. As we look at the top 50 right here, Spoony, one thing from you that you like about this or hate about this, either or. I don't want to say hate. Hate's a bad term. One guy, how about this? One guy you thought should have been higher, and one guy you thought was too high. How about that? If you got that in you.
Sure. Again, I'll repeat this again. Bijan should be number 1.
Okay. Bang that table, baby.
I don't care. And my surprise is again, defensive tackle Brian Passay at 25.
Okay.
I would feel that he would be a little bit much lower because of his situation with his playing, not playing so well towards the end of his career in Clemson and his situation. So I thought he would be a little bit lower as far as going towards the 30 range.
Got you. Dom, a guy you thought would be higher and a guy you thought should be lower.
I thought on our overall list that DeJuan Jones.
Okay. Oh, now you want to give DeJuan Jones love. You see this Professor Owen Spoon? Here he goes.
I thought he would be a little bit higher on our board, at least representing more of what would have been a top of the second round type value. So for him to be at 40, which would kind of be pushing closer to maybe the bottom of the top third or whatever, it's kind of unique that he's there. But a guy that I'm glad that we have still high is Josh Downs.
10-4. Guy higher, guy lower. What you got?
Yeah, I'll be really quick on this too. And I do want to mention really quick, since Dom brought this up, Matt Bergeron is a top 50 prospect. Yep. So I know for a fact Dom had him, and I think Nix or Spoony or Mendoza, somebody else had him as a top 50 pick too. And I don't think you're wrong. He's worthy. He's a good player. I think it's a surprise that we don't have Jalen Hyatt in the top 50. I don't love Jalen Hyatt, but I think as a consensus, I feel like the community's higher on him, and with that speed, I don't think he makes it past pick 50 in the draft, and that's not necessarily how a top 50 works. But I think he's a kind of surprise omission. I personally think DJ Turner is worthy of a top 50, and he was on my board too. So that's kind of the names that were omitted. But the guys on the board, I think we're too low on Emmanuel Forbes, even at 33. Even at 33. And this is going to be something I talk about in my bold predictions segment, or say with your chest segment later on. But I think the guys at 32 and 33 are names that whatever they come off on the board a couple years from now, you'll be like, that was lower. They should have been higher than that.
Okay. I like it. I think for me, as I go through the list, job well done to a certain extent. Lucas Van Ness, I think for me personally warms me up at 46. I don't know, man. I want the kid to do well. I'm not here for that. I just don't know. I think it's a land somewhere for sure. I think out of the gate, a guy that I would look at that I think should probably be a smidge higher, maybe a smidge higher, would be. I can't believe we have. Just as I'm going through it, certain things keep popping up. I was like, man, we put Drew Sanders over Will Levis. I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I think Zay Flowers should be higher. Personally, he was number 1 on my board out of the gate, wide receiver wise. I had the JSNs back and forth. However, I think there's more to his game, and I would move him up some. I would have him ahead of Addison, I think. For sure. The Hayden Hooker at 44, man, I like where we have him. I feel like he might be a guy that goes higher as well too, though, just because of the quarterback position and things that we look at. On the lower end, I think ultimately man, Dalton Kincaid. Maybe I'm just too worried about him, and I think he's a one-dimensional guy, and whatnot. I know we'll see different marks where he goes higher. That'll be the number one tight end off the board, and I know he's got cleared on the back. I don't know, man. He worries me. I think it's a very boomer bust pick when it comes to Dalton Kincaid. And if you're talking about tight end, we're talking about the Power 5 positions and maybe what you want to draft in the first round. Dalton Kincaid worries me. I think you better go out here and be him and what people believe about him being in the slot range and the Kelsey-esque or whatever. But I don't think he's nearly as much blocking. And, kind of he's like the Wish.com version, to be tongue-in-cheek here, of Pitts. But I think he's not in that realm, especially a little bit older and with the age. So I'm nervous about Dalton Kincaid personally. I'll leave it at that.
So I do think we need to address this. No Mozzie in the top 50. So Mozzie is and I've been consistent on it since the jump. Dom and Knicks have been consistent with it since the jump. Spoonie has. I just never saw him as a first-round player. I had him as number 48 on my board. I think Knicks had him at 46 or 47. He was like right there. I think the highest he was on anybody's board was 40. So it's not that he's a bad player. It's just when I'm looking at a player, I think he's rawer than what you want from that type of player that early. So I think 48 to 55 probably is the realistic range for where he should be. And that's just how I see it. I definitely understand other people are going to see him higher, but I do want to address it because he's definitely a notable name missing.
I think, you had him at 48. I had him at 50, and then somebody else had him a smidge higher than both of us, I think is where it was. But we were all the very same consensus in how he ended up with the voting, not getting onto the board.
Yeah.
But not to say that he's not going to go to the top 50. Just how we kind of saw the game, for sure.
Yep. I do want to say out of this whole thing, the one name that I keep looking at, and I feel like I'm a coward for having him where I have him and where he is on our list. So Will Levis at 37, I just don't believe in this dude. I don't
either.
He's this guy that I think, if I'm being honest, I only have him there because I know that he's supposed to be there. I don't believe he's worthy of even a second round pick. I don't. But he'll go high. He'll probably be a top 15 pick, and maybe he'll light it up. He's stiff. He's like too bulky.
Yeah.
He doesn't impress me. I'm not impressed. He couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. Shout out to Toxic Tom.
Yeah.
Penn State goes to Kentucky and puts up 2 average seasons. I know it's a pro style offense, but I'm like, not impressed.
Yeah, no, same. I see Migo from Dom. I mean, Migo slid into the conversation much later throughout the process because this crop of wide receivers don't have the size. And of course, AJ Brown went there as well. So he kind of flew up the boards. But yeah, I think he's going to get a draft. Look, could somebody take him in the second round? They could. They want to buy into the size more than anything else. They could buy into him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes outside the 50 though either. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Migo goes and what kind of season he has. We do have one more topic before we get to our final, pin down mock draft moment is say with your chest, call your shots. Spoonie, with your chest, call your shot. It could be for the Cowboys pick or any pick in general. There's a caveat there.
Well, I'm doing Cowboys.
Oh,
straight up. Say with my chest, right? All right.
Say it with your chest, Spoon.
The Dallas Cowboys will be drafting Bijan Robinson. Put a stamp on him. I'm telling you that right now. We are drafting Bijan. We're going to complete the damn task to make another step towards the glory to the championship. Mark it down. Bijan number 5 to the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, Bijan to the Cowboys. Dom, say it with your chest. Cowboys pick at 26.
Why I gotta follow that? Oh man!
I mean, Dom, you already gave us one. Maybe you want to double up or go back to that one or throw another one in there. But you made it pretty clear where Darnell Wright fits in this class.
Yeah.
So that's pretty bold.
I gotta fire a few shots off because this is my last segment of the draft season because I got to dip out before we get to the mock.
the final mock. You're not here for the final mock.
I got a dip. But when we looked at our top 10 on our consensus, there's a guy on there that I think is going to be a bust.
Give it to me.
Paris Johnson Jr.
Oh, say it with your chest, Don.
Paris Johnson Jr., I believe, has the biggest bust potential of our top 10. If I go into the next 10 at 11 to 20 range outside of quarterbacks, because Anthony Richardson is our 11th guy, I think. So I'm going to exclude him. He's 11 to 12. The next guy, Broderick Jones, another offensive tackle. And the reason I say both of these guys, I see it's all upside right now with them. The thing I have about Broderick Jones is he's only got, I think, 16 starts or so. So he's still young, which that could work to his advantage. But when I watch the inconsistencies in this game, when I watch the cons, the areas where he needs to improve, what scares me the most is the functional strength, just the overall strength whenever it comes to bull rushers. And the same thing that I see with Paris Johnson Jr. Now, Johnson Jr., he was right guard in 2021 for Ohio State, and he moved to left tackle this past season, and he's done well. But he had some issues of head over heels, eyes dropping, head dropping. And when you do a lot of that in the league, when you start to get guys who are not only fast, but they're strong, converting speed to power, and then also bringing in second and third moves, I worry about both of those guys for the same exact reasons. And I continue to go back to the Missouri tape, seeing from the jump what happened to Broderick Jones in that game. Whenever I look at Ohio State in some of their games and seeing what guys were able to do to Paris Johnson Jr. early in games, it got me worried about both of those brothers. So that's my unique way of saying it with my chest, is to watch out for those two. I dropped the other one, Will McDonald. I think he's one that I'm also concerned about being bust potential. But for our Dallas Cowboys at pick 26, if I had to tell you that we're going to get a player, my boy Darnell Wright just isn't going to be on the board. So I'm going to go with Drew Sanders.
Okay.
Arkansas.
With his chest. Drew skis. You know, Dom, what you have confirmed to me and Owen Spooney is you do in fact hate DeJuan Jones, because throughout the process and what we were doing, you continuously left him off. So now, Professor O, we know why he left him off. DeJuan Jones, that is.
So I have three for you.
Oh,
I'm going to be as quick as I can with them. So one of those,
top row.
And I'm calling myself a coward for two of these because I need to be honest with that. Number one prediction or spicy take or whatever I'm going to say with my chest is I keep looking at Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, and Joey Porter Jr., and I keep thinking we got it wrong as a community. I think the NFL is going to get it wrong. I think Emmanuel Forbes is the best player in this class as a cornerback. I think he's cornerback one, and I think if he was 7 pounds heavier, he would be the consensus number one cornerback in this class. I think we're wrong. I think Emmanuel Forbes is going to be the dude in this class that you walk away like. The other guys aren't going to be bad players, but I think Forbes is going to be the best cornerback in this class. I also think Cam Smith will be the second best cornerback in this class. So I think we're wrong on all three of the top three guys that are consensus. It's just my take. Number two, Jordan Addison is being completely disrespected in this draft process. He was a guy that coming out of Pitt, transferring to USC, was the number one receiver in this class coming in. He was this dude that everybody was like, he's going to light it up with Caleb Williams. He's with Lincoln Riley. He's going to have a monster season, and he didn't. He just didn't have the same success that he had with Pittsburgh. But if you watch the Pittsburgh tape, dude's a baller. He doesn't have this incredible size or anything like that, so I understand why people are down on him. But I'm starting to hear, and you guys are too, there's only one wide receiver that's a consensus number one receiver in this class, and that's JSN, and everybody's not, thinks that the rest of them just aren't Jordan Addison is a very, very good receiver, and he's been completely disrespected the last 3 weeks in the draft process. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. And my third one, again, I'm going to call myself a coward because I'm looking at my running back rankings. I have Bijan at 1. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at 2. I have a second, third round cheater grade on Zach Charbonnet and Devin Achane. And then I look at my third round grades, and I'm like, I genuinely think Dwayne McBride's better than Charbonnet and Achane. I think he's going to be a dude at the next level that's used in the right way. I think Dwayne McBride's going to be a guy that, small school guy, didn't have the receiving reps you want to see in college, so I understand why he will drop. But I think when you watch the tape and what he can do, he could be a Nick Chubb type of player in the NFL. I think Thomas Jones is probably the best comp for him, but those are my three things. I think Forbes is CB1. Forget the size, the traits, the ball recognition, the ball skills, the route recognition, being able to play man coverage and zone. He's CB1. I'm a coward. I'm going to update that tonight on my board. Addison should be a consensus number one wide receiver, or not number one wide receiver, but a consensus first round caliber wide receiver. And I think he's worthy of a top 20 pick. And I think McBride should be a running back 3. Those are my spicy takes, and I said it with my chest.
Yeah, you mentioned wide receiver because that's where I'm going to. Because Zay Flowers is number one wide receiver on this board. Don't care what nobody says. It's Zay Flowers. I felt that in the very beginning, throughout the process, up and downs. Dom, we had our ups and downs with JSN, the back and forth and everything. I love JSN. Doesn't matter. Zay Flowers is a guy. He just is. He's a guy. Look at his splits. He's outside guy. It's whatever. Oh, his size. I don't know. He's Diggs. You want to go draft? You want to step on Diggs, Dallas Cowboys Nation? Go draft Zay Flowers. That's what you go get. And guess what that does? Hey, everybody keeps talking about CeeDee Lamb does great work from the slot. Cool. Go get Zay Flowers. Put his 5'10" ass outside and put CeeDee Lamb in the slot and go cook and go prosper. It is what it is. That's where it is when it comes to him. I think number 2, I think Drew Sanders is an absolute difference maker on defense. I was big on him early. We went throughout the process and everything. He is linebacker 1 in my opinion. He is linebacker 1 in my opinion, and depending on how the board goes, if the Cowboys go Drew Sanders at 26, I'm not surprised. Those would be my 2 say it with your chest prospects throughout this. Obviously, we could talk about a bunch of different guys the entire time, but the top 2, Zay Flowers, wide receiver number 1, Drew Sanders, linebacker number 1, and those are some dudes. I can't see it. It's like that.
Please get a flashlight.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, you won't be able to see it, but it's funny. So my boom bust guys, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, Will McDonald. The guys that I have the most confidence in panning out, Darnell Wright, Josh Downs, Zay Flowers. Because he was also my wide receiver 1 when I said, if I'm not a coward, he's wide receiver 1. Reminds me of Antonio Brown. So I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah. And look, fun times to be had. Everything else. Real quick, Dom, before we get over to the
Spoonie.
I see Spoonie. Before I don't know how much longer you have. I'm gonna get really quick to the mock draft. The one last topic before we go there was the pick, right? The Tyler Smith. Oh, we didn't hear about him a little before, but really the day of the draft, and then it came down and happened. Who's the Tyler Smith pick? This is surprising here at 26 for you.
Yeah, I'd actually think a complete shock of a pick would be Matthew Bergeron, left tackle out of Syracuse. He was pretty high on my board. I think he's a solid second-round pick. He's one of the guys that really hasn't been talked about a lot in this draft process, and I'm hearing people talking about back end of the second, maybe early third-round player. But for me, he's one of the best trade back candidates that you could get, maybe in that 40 range. Right. So to be able to get him at 58, that would be a steal. But it would not shock me if a team like Dallas felt, nope, he is more of a first-round player, because it's the same thing I felt about Tyler Smith last year. I had him on my board as a third-round player, but I mentioned specifically in the notes and told people he's got first-round caliber tools. You just see it, the strength and the movement skills. He's just got to get things figured out from just an overall technique standpoint. because you could tell he was an intelligent guy when you listen to him in interviews and everything. So I thought he could catch up to speed in the NFL after 1 year development. So, man, Matthew Bergeron, one of the nicest, smoothest, quickest movers in this draft. I like what he has.
All right, Spoonie.
Player, I'll say Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson.
Okay.
Very fast. He's raw in certain areas, but very, very fast for a linebacker. His position. Good athlete. Definitely Dan Quinn would probably get the best out of him, but he's still raw in certain areas, like a lot of these young players. But he's one of my Tyler Smith picks, a guy that you could drop back in the draft and get him, a little bit later than 26. But depending on how the ball falls, we never know. But he's my Tyler Smith pick.
Got you. Eddie O coming in off the top row from the spaces and going to echoing what I'm going to talk about. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I don't know, I woke up on a Wednesday morning, I was just like, Kalijah Kancey, him. And then I tried to fight it off or whatever, but the Cowboys don't have that one guy, the difference maker in the middle. Dan Quinn, he's got the safeties, right? He's got the edges, some linebacker help here and there. He ain't got that one guy in the middle. And I don't know why. Like Kalijah Kancey, look, he doesn't fit the profile, to be honest, right? He doesn't fit the profile for Dan Quinn and what's going, throughout that process. He doesn't fit the profile, but difference maker from the 3-tech, a guy that I would be happily surprised with if they went that route. Kalijah Kancey, that would be a surprise pick for a multitude of different reasons, but that would be the surprise pick for me. When it comes to 26, Professor O is gone at the moment, so we'll pause. I'll get his answer on the back end. Eddie, I don't know where you heard that about Kalijah Kancey before either. I will share what you call it. Oh, there he is. Your surprise pick, 26.
Yeah, so my surprise pick, I'll give you the very quick version, is safety from Alabama, Brian Branch. He's a guy that we haven't heard talk about at all for the Cowboys, but he's a guy last year we had Lewis Seen, safety from Georgia, over Tyler Smith in our big board. Not our, but the Cowboys did. They took Tyler Smith over the safety. Now a year removed, we're in the situation where Jaron Kearse is a free agent after this year. Malik Hooker is a free agent after this year. He could also add position flex in cornerback room. We have Stephon Gilmore, who's a free agent after this year. Jordan Lewis, who's a free agent after this year. We have Kelvin Joseph and Nashawn Wright that I don't think would be a shock if either one of them didn't make the team this year. So I think he's a guy that could fill 2 roles for you. He's a sure tackler. He only missed 4 tackles in the SEC in his entire college career. He's a guy that I think comps really well to Javon Holland, who's the guy that I wanted us to take the year we took Kelvin Joseph. Right. He went before us to the Dolphins, and I think if he's there on the board, we're not expecting him to be there because a lot of people think he's going top 20. But if he's there, he may be the guy that they're like, yeah, I could do a lot with him in the defensive room. So I think Brian Branch would be a good surprise pick.
That part. The final mock draft's on the board. Oh, look at there. Look at Kancey. Oh, Kincaid, Breesy, Harrison, Will McDonald, Forbes, FAU, Mozzie Smith. Let's take a look here real quick. Scrolling up here. Bryce Young, number 1, CJ Stroud, number 2, Jalen Carter, 3, Levis, 4 to the Colts, Wilson, Christian Gonzalez, Anthony Richardson over here to the Las Vegas Raiders. So Witherspoon, Will Anderson to the Bears, JSN, Eagles, Paris Johnson, Nolan Smith, Lucas Van Ness. Thank you, Jess, for taking Lucas Van Ness off the board. Peter Skoronski over here to the Patriots, Quentin Johnson, Green Bay, Joey Porter Jr., Washington, Darnell Wright. Oh, he's off the board at 17, Dom. Bijan, sorry, Spoon, he's off the board at 18 to the Lions. Brian Branch, sorry there. He's off the board at number 19 there. Professor Earl, Miles Murphy, 20. Broderick Jones, 21 to the Chargers. Deontay Banks to Baltimore, keeps it in Maryland. Michael Mayer to the Vikings. Jordan Addison to the Jags. And Zay Flowers to the G-Man. So, guys, Kalijah Kancey, Dalton, wipeout. So now it's the Kalijah Kanceys, the Kincaids, the Breesy, Will McDonald.
So yeah, right now the guys that we don't know, but we've heard would be Will McDonald would be the pick from the 5 that we were told about.
Yeah.
There's no trades, right?
No trades.
Damn it.
I know who I would get in this draft. It's out of two guys.
Okay.
Well, I mean, O just talked us into Emmanuel Forbes being cornerback one of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like you can't get enough corners. You're one injury away from having a situation where now you're dependent on Nashawn Wright to hopefully get things going, or Bossman Fat to step in and get significant snaps.
Mm-hmm.
So Emmanuel Forbes would be tops on that list, and then Osiris Torrance.
And I just stacked them here via PFF. Forbes 31, Torrance 36, Cam Smith 39, Stevenson 46, and then Avila, their board 47.
Yep. I think we've abandoned Osiris Torrance because
that's what I was going to say.
He's our guard too.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he's going to be guard two on Dallas's board.
Right.
I think they would take Torrance in this situation,
or
Will
so
McDonald.
Too.
That's who I think it would be one of those two guys.
I think so too.
So that's where I think we should go. As much as I would take Forbes, I don't. Yeah. They may consider him here, but I think those two guys would be. They'll say we would rather have guard one on our board. I think that's where they would go.
Can't see being here in this right here. Would that sway them in your opinion?
I don't think so. I think they probably like him, but I think they would stick to their board and their evaluation and trust the process because it works for the Cowboys and we don't miss in round one very often. So I think they would say, Torrance is our guard one. He's a day one starter. Will McDonald's going to add edge value to us. I think they would take Torrance, in my opinion.
Even over Dalton Kincaid, Dom?
Yeah, even over Kincaid.
Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Let's make it happen. There it is. All right, quarterback on the board. Oh, look at the Giants taking Henley right before us.
We're gonna hate the Giants this draft. They picked one spot before us the entire night, the entire weekend. It's gonna be.
They already got Zay.
Yeah, and now they got Henley. Yeah. Now Stevenson on the board, Gary Williams on the board. For what it's worth, you took care of your interior offensive line. Where you want to look at, guys? Wide receiver? Yeah, St. Dale.
What's the overall?
Overall. Okay, overall. So we're looking at McKee, Thule, Sam Laporta, Dale, Stevenson, Luke Whippler, Garrett Williams, Herbig, Charbonnet, Foskey, Ika, Johnson, DJ Turner. Which I agree with you. I think I love DJ Turner. I absolutely do love DJ Turner, by the way. This will be interesting to see where he goes. I definitely got him to pay attention to moving on. To me, this screams Slam Laporta.
Yep.
For me. What do you think, guys? You think a wide receiver?
I want to look at him. Yeah.
Dale, Wilson, Rice, A.T. Perry, Cedric Tillman, Boutier, Marvin Mims, Tyler Scott, Jaden Reed, Trey Palmer.
So we're looking at Dell or the guys. Dell's the only guy that was a top 30 for them.
Yeah.
Right? Or was Rice Rice came as Dallas Day. So Dell's the
Dallas
only
Day.
top 30.
Yeah, Dallas Day they talked to, but not official 30.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd sit there. So I'm looking at tight end or cornerback. I think so for the exact same reason we just gave you with Brian Branch and Forbes earlier. I think Tyreek Stevenson's a guy that offers cornerback and safety flexibility. I think Laporta or Kraft makes tons of sense here too, though.
So you got Laporta, Kraft.
Cornerback with DJ Turner. I mean, the cornerback, there's some good players right now too, but I think tight end makes sense for the Cowboys.
The defensive end real fast.
DN. All right, got you. Thule, Herbig, Carter, Foskey, McGuire, Brooks. And Brooks is more of a utility guy.
I think it would be based on profile, who we heard they've been interested in. It's not all going to align, but the two guys that stand out to me is Stevenson, cornerback, and Isaiah Foskey. Even though in our circles, we haven't talked much about him. I don't think many Cowboys content creators have been on Foskey, but he kind of fits that mold. And you got to go back to 21 where you really saw him show out because I think they featured him differently. And then whenever the defensive coordinator at that time, then turned into the head coach. A lot of things changed with Notre Dame, and the season didn't go as they hoped. So he was out of the spotlight, but he's still a pretty solid edge defender. So it's out of the two of them, and then of course Laporta.
Yeah, I mean, would you think they pull the trigger on Charbonnet or A-Chain here?
No,
I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right.
I'll go on record quick. My pick would be Stevenson here.
I'd probably be Laporta.
I think they'd go
I don't know.
Stevenson.
Let me look at cornerback again. Hold on, let me look at cornerback one more time.
You know, it's not about
Here's the thing,
who I
it's-
like. I'm
here's the
thinking
thing, it's one of
them
the-
this draft.
It's one of the situations here, though. Like, it's going to be a different temperament at both these positions, tight end, cornerback. Whenever you make this pick, it's going to be a different temperament at 90 for sure. With what's available there, you know, and what do you want to roll the dice on, and so on and so forth. So, Stevenson's been the guy's been picking up a lot of steam. I wouldn't be all the way out in disagreeing. That's where they would go. You know, I think for me, Laporta would be my guy though. Personally, that's where I would land. Spoony, where would you go? Stevenson, Laporta, anybody else?
See,
I'm between Laporta and Stevenson.
I think O and I don't know. We didn't even talk about it, but I think O and I have entered this draft going, this isn't about what we would do and who we really covet.
Yeah.
It's about them, and this is the final mock.
Yeah.
So that's why I would give Stevenson the edge here.
Yeah, if it's them, then it's Stevenson for me.
Would they think about Siaki Ika here?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, again, he's a guy that I think we would take. I don't think the Cowboys would take him.
Gotcha.
I think Stevenson's a guy that they look at and say he could be your starting free safety in 2024. Or he could start at cornerback. He that position flex. I think he's the guy.
Stevenson off. All right, there it is. So Torrance, Stevenson. Now, what position you want to look at? As I'm kind of going through here, just perusing, looking. If there's a particular position you want to look at, let me know.
Eddie wants to know if you guys think they would really take Laporta over Kraft.
Yes, because he is what, you know, Steven just kind of talks about, I think.
Go tight end here.
Sure. All right. Probably Shoemaker, right? Yeah, Shoemaker in the building. Makes a lot of sense. Davis Allen, Zach Kuntz, Josh Wall.
The Giants took Tank Bigsby. He's a guy, if you followed the tea leaves, the Cowboys like him. Every single person in the Cowboys mothership talks about Tank Bigsby all the time. So the fact that they would take him and Zay Flowers and everybody else.
Is it Dorian Williams time?
No.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to take him. I would say
McGuire on the board, Carl Brooks, McBride. I mean, as far as running backs go, McBride, Keandre Miller.
It would be Kendra Miller.
Spears.
Kendra Miller would be their pick here. That I'm pretty confident based on, again, Tank Bigsby and Kendra Miller are the guy you hear over and over and over and over that they like. They met with him at the combine. They did a private workout with him. He did the Dallas day. Like, it would be Kendra Miller would be my pick for them if I'm drafting for the Cowboys.
Only thing I think would be considered maybe a receiver, but
let's take a
when
look.
we were going into this, I was thinking running back.
Let's take a look at receiver here. If Mims is on the board, it gets intriguing if he's on the board, and Mims is gone. So Wilson, A.T. Perry, who has the size, Bousse, Scott,
Scott was a combine visit.
Yeah. Let's go Miller here. What y'all think? Y'all feeling that?
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Oh, dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. Miller. All right, guys. Let's take a look here. Just going to dip over the linebacker. Now you're down to Troy Brown, Ventrell Millers of the world. So, I mean, that's kind of a
what's happened to Dallas with their fourth pick or their first pick in the fourth, because they have had multiple fourths. They always seem to get a guy that was a third round value to them.
Steal of the draft.
Andrew Voorhees. Stash and draft.
Stash, good stash.
Redshirt
I just
year.
think with his age, being a 25-year-old, he's going to miss the
Oh,
season.
yeah.
I just feel like he's going to fall even further than this. Like I think you can still wait.
Tied in now, you're talking about Davis Allen, Zach Kuntz, Joshua Payne Durham. I
I like
mean,
Josh Wiley, but I think
yeah.
you can wait. So Swain
Yeah.
wants to know what one techs are available.
you're ready for quarterback? No? Yeah, okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
I would take Jaron Hall here. I think he's worthy of that pick, but I don't think they would take him at 4th.
Kobe Turner, just D tackles in general here. Coburn, Martin, obviously Jonah's not a one tech. Jared Clark, Jacob Slade, Jalen Redmond.
Yeah, I think you keep waiting there.
Yeah.
I do think Cameron Young, Mississippi State, is going to be on Dallas's board. I'm not high on him.
Can you go to
but
DN too?
I think he could be a 5th round or so.
Yeah, Henry, Fioku.
Fioko is a
Brought
visit.
in.
Yeah, he's a visit. Asir Morris, Lacey, obviously on their
Lacey.
radar, from Oklahoma State. Just is it would it be Webbetzheim here, wide receiver,
I mean, I love Parker, but I don't know if they love Parker.
right? Is there a name here that sticks out?
Yep.
What's the name?
I actually think they would like Xavier Hutchinson
Okay, went to the pro day.
because when
Yeah,
O
obviously
was,
it worked out.
O told us about the size profile that
Mhm.
they've always sought, or not them, but Mike McCarthy.
6'2",
he's exactly in the size and speed range that they like. They did
Yeah.
meet with him at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine, I believe.
Mhm. And but they're at this pro day as well.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. So
Yeah, all the talk about Will.
look at the
Could've
Giants
been
taking off
Xavier,
Pace
too.
Jr. Look at them taking off Pace Jr. Oh,
Yeah, every
I
round
love
so
you
far.
Giants. I hate them so much right now.
Is there? So I guess we're good at. I don't know that we're good at cornerback and safety, but I don't think you would double dip there. Although Jalen Jones is available, and
Jalen Jones is.
I think they would like him.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate, big
So
body
the
guy.
name that
which-
pops
I
up now
do-
that we just scrolled through is Eli Ricks, a guy that they are saying they would have higher on their board than maybe we would.
Let me ask you this: do you think they would consider? Because I was scrolling through, would they consider Deuce Vaughn here?
I don't think so because we just took a running back at 90. I think if he was
Okay.
the first running back you take at 129, then
Gotcha.
maybe, but I don't think you double
Gotcha.
dip back-to-back picks.
Got you. And of course, a guy that's been kind of talked about, right? In Mapu from Sacramento State.
I don't know. Spoon, what are you thinking?
Oh, would you double dip on O line?
You could. Is there a tackle prospect or a
You see.
Carter, McFadden, Daniels, Hayes, Asim, maybe a little early for those guys.
the Michigan center?
If you're thinking, I was gonna say, you got Scruggs in there, and of course you got the Michigan guys as well. Would be a couple of guys here I would think about.
You're spot on for Carter Warren.
You think so?
I mean,
He's
I'm cool with it.
6'5", 24,
Arms.
some change.
Look at those arms, 35 and 3/8.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. I like for me, look at what the Cowboys have done thus far. I just don't think they would go tackle here.
No.
I don't think they would go tackle.
Mm-mm.
Right? I think Jalen Jones could
Jalen
make sense here,
Jones.
but I don't know if I have that's a blind pick for us on if he's on their radar at all, because I don't think there's anything to really tie him to being on their radar.
how about quarterback?
Well, I
He
don't.
was one of the visits, right? No.
Aiden O'Connell is somebody that they obviously like. They also met with DTR.
Clayton Soon.
Clayton Tune, somebody they met with. So, I mean, there's 3 guys right there. I just don't know that you take one at round 4,
Fourth
round
round,
5
right. I
maybe,
get you.
but
Yeah.
And what was
But
that
if they-
linebacker?
Would you? The linebacker I think was Troy Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Yeah, Troy Brown, Ventura
too
Miller.
early. Too early.
Yeah, Cam Jones.
I don't
mean,
even know
is
who
it-
Troy Brown is.
What about Edge here? I mean, Fioca's
KJ
the guy that's on the radar.
If you're looking at
KJ Henry's the
PFF's
guy.
value, KJ Henry is the guy that's fallen. I don't know that they take Fehoko here. I think like Juice Scruggs or somebody like that might make sense. Now you're getting a guy that can cover your center because they like to draft ahead of time, and we know what's going to happen contract-wise with Tyler Biotis. So maybe you take a chance on one of the two centers.
Would you think about Ronnie Hickman here? I mean, not much.
They met
time
with him at the combine, but I think
Right.
with Stevenson, you kind of covered your bases at two spots there.
Right.
So I think
Right.
so,
Boy,
I think Scruggs would probably be where I would go here.
Yeah.
Or one of the wide receivers.
Yeah, Hutchinson or Scruggs.
Oh, Eli Ricks. Oh, okay. I mean, if they're going offensive line again, inside center, they have a propensity to like people from Penn State. I would lean Penn State over the Michigan kid. Pull the trigger?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I continue to say Oluwatimi. I just don't have him high at all, man.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
So to be clear, Dom, I've signed off on a first round offensive lineman and a fourth round interior offensive lineman. So I've done my job here.
It's about what you think they're gonna do, and it
is. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course this is predicated to what's on the board as well. So two offense, two defense, right, is where we're at right now. Sitting here on the board. Of course, best available to them. Johnson, Hickman, Fehoko, Ramirez. I mean, we're just not getting much of a return here.
You're at quarterback value right now. It's probably where I would go.
Okay. Dorian, Toon, Bennett, O'Connell, Cunningham, Jaron Hall. I think from the Cowboys standpoint,
I think
it's Toon. Yeah, I think it's Toon.
Toon.
I think it's Toon here. It's Robbie, yeah, guys.
Can y'all tell me something about Coon? Coon, oh my lord. Toon.
Wow. Wowzers.
Late night.
I mean, he led him in rushing and all kinds of stuff. Come on, man. What else you need to know?
How elusive is he? Like, can he actually take it, tuck it, and go?
Mm-hmm. He does that quite a bit. I was actually really annoyed watching him because I was trying to watch Tank Dell, and I'm like, stop tucking and running. Like, throw the damn ball. He threw for 4,074 yards, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he ran 128 times, 546, 4.3 yards. So he's a guy that's mobile enough. He can do that. He ran a 4.6, 440, 6'2", 220.
Right. So I was excited that Dallas has some interest in DTR, because one of the things I would like to see out of the backup is that ability to just 1-2 quick reads, don't have it, go. Use your athleticism. And so if he has that ability to run, then hey, more power to us to go ahead and take him here.
All right, let's pull the trigger on soon.
Yep.
Let's do it. Boom.
Now we're looking at the best kicker available. That's how the Cowboys draft. We're taking a kicker now. There's good defensive linemen right now. Like, this would be a very good spot to take one of those guys.
No linebacker. I mean,
they did meet with Jalen. So shout out to our guy Mo Zavala in the chat. He's on the Facebook side, but he asked several times about Fresno State guys. We did meet with Jalen Moreno Cropper at the combine. And I like Nico Remigio quite a bit. I think he'd be a great value pick at like a 7th round flyer. But I don't know that they would take anybody else. They probably Hainer would be in consideration, but he went earlier.
Man. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to look at.
Who's the kicker from Maryland?
Can I just say, Connor Lipke and feel better about my life, or no? I can't do that. Okay, fair.
I just don't think they would draft him as much as we like him.
Know.
We've done our due diligence. We put him into the stratosphere.
Is it Jake Moody time?
Yeah, or maybe the Syracuse kicker. One of the two.
Moody.
What's with the kids from Maryland? Did Bones Fossil visit him too, or
Chad Ryland? Not to my knowledge, but he might have. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I watch a lot of kicker films. So Moody and Smith are the two I know.
Moody it is.
Cool. So we got one round left, guys. A final pick of this draft season.
I think the scrappy guy, San Diego State. I think they would like him because we know how they like interchangeable interior defensive lineman.
No tight end here, guys. Braden Willis. Can I talk into Braden Willis? No. Okay. All right. Y'all's call. Whatever y'all want here. Jonathan here at the late stages. Troy Brown, linebacker, Mississippi. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I'm trying to think of who they've met with. Not that they always take that, because there's always going to be
Right.
somebody you're not expecting. We didn't take a wide receiver, so maybe you look at that.
Yeah, wide receiver. Where we are looking at Cropper, Bobo, Thompson, Shorter, Jadakiss. I'll call him Jadakiss. I don't really pronounce that way, but
Love Demario Douglas.
Yeah,
Might have Demario Douglas, but I don't think they would take him.
Process, no. Davis. Yeah, I mean, down the old pipeline here.
Wait, I thought we did take a receiver.
No,
No,
don't think so.
no.
I'll dial it back up real quick. So we Torrance, right? We went Torrance. Second round we went Stevenson. Third round we went Miller, right? Fourth round we went Scruggs. Then fifth round we went quarterback, and then sixth round we went kicker.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, your fullback, BJ. Your fullback.
I see a player right there on that tackle that they could get and be a developmental guy. Jake Witt.
Okay. All right. Would you say Smooth?
Your fullback. No interest, Licky.
I would be. I don't know. I mean, he's on the board. I don't think as O said, I don't think they're going to tie. It doesn't look they're going to take him, but sure, okay. I would absolutely love to take Hunter Lipke here in the 7th round. But we're trying to crack the code here and what they might do. Slade can make some sense from a one tech. Jonah can make some sense in his flex. Troy Brown makes sense here for what they needed, linebacker plus special teams. Aubrey Miller's kind of okay. I mean, there's DJ Dale's a defensive lineman as well from Alabama traits. So yeah, I mean, whatever y'all thinking, positional wise. I mean, we kind of went through wide receiver already and tight end. Not really much meat on the bone there, if you will. Thompson's interesting. I mean, production wise, Jonah would be the guy to land on. But whatever y'all think, though, wherever y'all want to go.
Yeah. Tavai makes sense.
Yeah, let's go. Let's lock it in. Jonah Tavai.
Lock it in. Tavai it is.
Steven doesn't like our draft because we didn't take Darnell Washington. He wasn't available. We had to take him at 26. He was gone. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah. I mean, once again, this mock wasn't very kind to us and how things fell. But for what it's worth, we get the C- grade for Torrance. Stevenson A, Miller B, Scruggs B, Clayton Tune C, Moody D, and an A+ for Jonah Tavai in the 7th round. So definitely took care of O-line and D-line, right? Guard center and D-lineman can kind of play up and down the line a little bit. You get you an impact guy, Kendra Miller, in the running back position. The long, lengthy safety / cornerback 2 combo if you need from Tyreek Stevenson. And your developmental guy. And of course, special teams matter. We need a kicker. They ain't signed nobody realistically. And you go get the best kicker in the draft. Sony, your thoughts?
I loved it. What I loved about it the most was that we did something different today. We took 2 interior offensive linemen. We haven't done that in any of these mock drafts. That we every Friday that we've been here. We haven't took we did it today. This was, in my opinion, kind of hard because I had the draft board fell. We took some time to even discuss which players should we take. We even talked about which take the players that the Cowboys have for visits. So, overall, when you look at it, it wasn't that easy as the other ones, in my opinion. But I love it. We hit every part. And we hit value. And we also took guys in case like Biada's. We signed Biada's for next year. We have somebody in place that we could plug in at center. So I love it.
Don, as we're wrapping up here. The final mock draft, some quarterbacks, some kickers, some double dip on the O line. What you think, man?
You know, I know a lot of fans will look at that and go, man, we didn't do anything at receiver, linebacker, yada, yada, yada. But I don't, there's no way you can cover all your bases with one draft. So this is where the undrafted free agency will come into play. We know that running back, it is a deep group. So they may decide not to draft a running back anyway because you got your guys in hand already. They got 3 guys that are right there ready to rock and roll. And if we're talking about running back has been devalued, then why would they just force using one of their picks on one? Maybe one can fall into your lap round 7, or maybe as an undrafted free agent. So then we have the second wave of free agency coming up in June. So, you know, it is what it is. Don't get too caught up in trying to fill every single position of need. Just go by value and what's on the board.
10-4. Final mock here, and we're wrapping up the draft 23 draft series for us over here on Pick 6 Sports, man.
I mean, this is the reality of the draft. Like, you don't know what's going to happen after your picks. You don't know what's going to happen before your picks. You just kind of play the board as it falls and kind of trust the process. From what we've heard, and obviously what you hear, it's smoke season, so maybe what we've heard is not right, but I think we did a pretty good job of drafting the way the Cowboys typically do draft. I think that's a really solid draft, even though it's not sexy. Like, we didn't get a top-end skill position early. We didn't get the edge rusher to play around with DQ, but I think that's a good draft. I mean, you got Juice Scruggs for the future. He might be your starter next year. You have Tyreek Stevenson, who could start at 2 different positions next year and contribute this year. You got your immediate day 1 left guard. Like, we got Kendrick Miller, who might be your running back 1 next year. Like, and will contribute a lot this year. So I think it's a good draft. Maybe not as fun as some of the previous drafts, but we went away from our own tendencies and preferences and drafted the way we think they did. And I think we did our job in the exercise.
10-4, you know, and this is just kind of the thing, man. You know, we could run this thing another 2-3 times, and depending on how the board felt and looking at what we know about the Cowboys and what they're doing and what we've kind of accumulated from a knowledge standpoint, it would be different every time. But you can you're literally at the mercy of the algorithm, right? And what's going on. And we had to deal with what was there on deck. This isn't a piece where we're writing our article of what we think is going to happen. We have to look at the board in real time and kind of do that. It may be, us 4 will sit down and say, hey, look, let's take everything out of the equation of the algorithm, and let's really talk about and put our 7 together and throw it out there for y'all in that realm too. But within this exercise, the best way for us to conclude it, we appreciate everybody that has rocked with us through 11 weeks, 11 episodes leading you up to the draft. And next week, no more talk. Starting on Thursday, it's going to unfold in front of us, and we're going to see how these teams operate, particularly the Cowboys. And, of course, we will be live all 3 days. So make sure you're tuned into the place to be. We're going to lay it out there. Pay attention to the socials, Twitter, whatever. We'll put it out there exactly what the schedule is going to look like for us and the live streams throughout the draft and going from that standpoint. But once again, appreciate all my guys on the panel, man. This has been a fun experience. You know, Spody, we've done the draft a lot. You know, this is our, 4th, 5th time doing it now. The cohorts with O and Dom and how we kind of attacked this and kind of zeroed in on it, man. This has been an extremely fun ride this round, man. And I appreciate all you guys and all the back channel talks we've had throughout this video. But what a fun time for us.
Oh, no, for me, it was great, especially where, you know, Professor and I know Dom, you guys with the college football, college expert, man, it was great educating experience, learning about these guys as we go along for the whole journey. And I always say it's you know, not everybody could do what certain people do and put the work in and the study they do all the time to put out this knowledge. And to me, it was a good experience. I thank you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dom, last word for you tonight, good. So as we wrap up the draft series, not that we're done yet, not that we're not going to be back in the building talking things and the whole 9 will be the last time you see Dom around these parts. He's in the building. Pick 6 is in the building. But put a capper here for this draft series that we ran through, man.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. It didn't even feel like 11 weeks, to be honest.
Right?
It felt more like 3 or 4. and it just got better and better. And to be able to share our draft knowledge with everybody, but then see other people commenting and sharing with us, hey, check this guy out. I don't know, you're a little bit low on this person. That's what the community is all about, because I've definitely been influenced over this time frame by other people who see something. I'm like, oh, okay, I finally have come around on a couple of guys that I had extremely high. I started to see what others were saying, and it's like, yeah, I need to adjust this, slot that scale a little bit. So it's all fun. It's all good. And to me, it's all about our growth and development. So I look forward to what we're going to become here in the future.
10-4. Professor O, as we wrap up the draft series.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely echo what you guys say. It's been fun. I mean, we put a lot of time into this, not only doing these live in real time, but also preparing for it. The weekly series of getting our top 10, that was kind of done like literally the week before we started. Like, we didn't really have a ton of preparation, and I think we did a pretty good job of coming together and giving a variety of opinions to come up with a cohesive board that looks pretty damn good. Mo asked how the baby's doing, and knocked out the earphones. My bad. But Mo asked, all right, Mo asked how the baby's doing. Willa's doing great. I got to go hold her in just a few minutes. But yeah, man, it's been fun. I feel like we as a Pick Six family, and I wish our guy Mendoza was here live with us on the show, because you guys see him as the mod, but him and Dom, the entire NFL season, every single week, when we're talking Cowboys and their matchup, these guys are dropping 2, 3, 4 prospects every single week. So a lot of the guys that we're catching up on like January, February, March, and even April, they were like, oh, I talked about him week 4 of the regular season. So definitely follow Dom. Definitely follow Mendoza. Mendoza's Twitter is ohmyword88. Dom is right there. You can see it. Great follows. Nix and Spoonie, I mean, they've been doing this for a long time for a reason. It's fun, man. Like, we enjoy doing this. We look forward to doing it with you guys. We're not going to be right on everything. We're going to be wrong. And I want to give a quick end to this. Toxic Tom asked, what players did you think were can't miss that you missed on? I was in high school, to be fair, but I told my cousin, who's a diehard Vikings fan, the year that they traded Randy Moss to the Raiders, they took Troy Williamson from South Carolina. I'm like, he's 6'2". He runs a 4.3 40. Perfect replacement for Randy Moss. Think about this. Saying anybody is a perfect replacement for Randy Moss is bad, much less somebody who had vision problems and literally couldn't track the football. I was in high school. I wasn't even really watching film back then, so I'm going to give myself some leeway there, but that's by far the biggest guy I just whiffed on. And I will whiff on other guys too, but I feel pretty good about the work we put in, and I appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I whipped on Taco. Let me keep it here in Dallas Cowboys land. I whipped on Taco. I was talking like, oh, look, TJ played with his hand on the ground. He gonna come in here and play with the hand on the ground. He played the Big Ten.
He's a tweener.
Look, he had 10 plus sacks in the Big Ten. He could walk in here, give you the everything with what's going on, be that rotational piece and be on the other side. Oh no, slam dunk. I was big on Taco. Completely missed on Taco. That's my miss. I'll definitely be more than happy. I get a lot right, but I get a lot wrong too. I mean, that's just part of this draft process. Is why every single team in the NFL fails in the first round. It doesn't always hit it. But yeah, I missed on Taco. Yeah, I was him. I wanted Taco over TJ Watt. Yeah, I said it.
Wow. Listen, those ain't worse compared to my guy. None of them are worse.
Oh, who's your guy? Who's your
Bobby Carpenter? Ohio State.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
It happens.
There you go.
It happens. It happens.
Bobby.
Dom?
You know, mine wasn't a Cowboys player, but Alex Leatherwood continues to be one of my worst evals. And Bluff kept telling me, like, man, you got this wrong. And I'm like,
yeah,
I ain't listening. So yeah, I'm still wearing that. I was the opposite on
There's still time for Alex. Hey, there's still time for Alex, Dom.
You know, right.
Hold up that hope.
You know, I was the opposite. I was the opposite on Taco. Like I was not, all about him. But again, Will McClay and company.
I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, well, let me start to see where I was wrong. And So then I was like, oh man, he's got some measurables similar to JPP. Maybe he can turn into Pierre Paul, and yeah, that just never happened.
And I'll tell you what, I can do that really quick as well. And if these guys got a guy too, says, hey, let's leave the glass half full note. What was one guy that you got little draft coverage that you propelled and nailed? Rashad Jones. And if my guy Billy not still in the building, he's a Dolphins fan. I was banging the table for Rashad Jones to the Cowboys. I loved his tape from Georgia. I thought he hit it. I was all about Rashad Jones. Man, they drafted him. Man, I was on the phone with him. I was like, man, I hate y'all, man. Man, y'all got a dude. Y'all got Rashad Jones. Y'all got a dude, man. I absolutely love Rashad Jones. A couple others, but Rashad Jones always excited. He ended up going, 5th round, perennial Pro Bowler. Great guy. Love Rashad. And then look, and I had to do it for my guy. University of Georgia fan. So Rashad Jones, man, absolutely loved his game and went late in the draft and had a pretty damn good career. Would be a guy for me that I thought didn't get a lot of fanfare, if you will, and I was right about. You got a guy? I know you. Well, I mean, you probably got a guy too, right?
I do. I'd have to think about it. I don't know. It's a great question, Eddie. I haven't really put a lot of thought into it recently because I've been preparing for this draft, but I'm sure there's been guys.
I think. How about? Hey, just recently though, very early in the prospect, and I can coast on this for he was completely huge on Holland before, and I know he went second round, right, or whatever, but he was big on him. I mean, you was out here questioning different content creators where he big up the rims. Like, why? What do you not like about Holland? Like, no, he's him. So I'll definitely give in that process for sure how much he likes Holland.
He comes to mind, but again, he was a second round pick. But yeah, with him, I was calling out the big dogs. And I'm like, what game? Tell me which game. Let's watch it together. Like, what are you? You're wrong on him. So there's probably a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in this draft that I feel like the community's been wrong on. But yeah, it's been fun, man. I've really enjoyed this.
But I mean, here's the thing: when it comes to Holland, though, you do the redraft, he's probably going in the first round now, not in that second. So
I mean, PFF, it's PFF, but he was safety 1 that year in the NFL, not just in his class. He was the number 1 graded safety his rookie year.
10-4. Dom?
My biggest find, George Kittle.
Oh.
I was high on George Kittle in that draft, and I kept telling people, well, he was a receiver in high school. He was 215 pounds or whatever it was. He bulked up a little bit, only still got to 235. Iowa just didn't target him. But you saw a scrawny guy who's putting dudes in the dirt when it came to blocking. There's nobody in this draft, not even Darnell Washington, blocks like George Kittle blocked for Iowa. And I'm just like, what are y'all like? Even if you just get him as a blocking tight end, but the few times they gave him targets, you could just see how like skillful he was with his movements and how sure-handed he was. So I had him like as a second round value, and whenever the third and fourth rounds were going by, I'm just sitting there screaming like, come on, y'all. And I think he ended up being a 5th round pick. Wow, so home run. 4th or 5th, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Swooney, a guy that you were big on that ended up popping.
I'll give you Dallas Cowboys that win out of A&M.
Oh,
one of my all-time favorite pick of all time, and I was so sad. I was happy and sad when we got Bill Parcells. When he said we become a Cowboy, I already knew once they said they're going to turn to the 3-4 defense. I said, "Damn, that win and Mr. Coakley both going to be out of there because they were too small to play the position." But he was one of my favorite all time. He's the guy that I'll put in the Sean Lee category as far as smart linebackers, leading the room. He's just one of those guys, but one of my all-time favorite picks.
10-4. All right. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that will officially put the cap on our 2023 NFL Draft Series. We'll be back next year to do it again. But now, man, it's time to jump out here. We'll go jump on a space. I already saw Roy and Eddie talk about it. We'll jump on a space for a little bit longer. And stay tuned. We'll give you the information for the actual live reactions during the draft and where we're going to be at and what times and whatnot. Obviously, this channel, if you're subbed, turn the notifications on. Get in here. We'll be live all 3 days for sure. Appreciate everybody for rocking us with this series. Like, share, free 99 to go tell a friend. Y'all be safe. Peace.